Morning, everybody. Hope you're doing well. Excited to be here to be joined by Team New Balance athlete and track and field superstar Gabby Thomas. I'll just expand on some of her incredible accomplishments. 2019 graduate of Harvard University, where she studied neurobiology and global health. And during the 3 years that she competed for Harvard, she became one of the greatest athletes in Ivy League history, winning 22 conference titles, broke 3 league records in the 60, 100, and 200. And then in 2018, won the NCAA indoor 200-meter title, and in doing so, became the fastest indoor 200-meter collegiate all time. In 2018, after the end of her junior year, she decided to go pro and thankfully signed with New Balance. And she continued to excel beyond that, both on and off the track. In 2021, she went to the Olympic trials and produced one of the greatest performances in the history of the 200 meters, running a time of 21:61 to become the second fastest woman alive behind in all time, behind the legendary Florence Griffith Joyner. And then she capped off an incredible year by going to the Olympics and winning 2 medals, a bronze in the 200 meters and a silver in the 4x100 meters. And she did this while pursuing a master's degree in epidemiology and global health management. So a true Renaissance person. So Gabby, welcome.
Thank you.
I think we can stop there.
Thank you.
I appreciate you coming today. I know it's been a busy couple of weeks. You were here for the opening of the track. And yesterday you were down at the White House.
Yes.
How was that?
That was amazing. It's everything that all these opportunities are always very surreal. And getting to meet the president and vice president was such an amazing experience. So I'm really grateful to have been able to do that.
Excellent. You had an incredible last 12 months. You've gone from Olympic hopeful to Olympic medalist, one of the brightest stars in track and field. But I'd like to start at your decision to go to Harvard. It's the typical route to being a top US sprinter is to go to an SEC school, an ACC school, Pac-12. And I know you had them opportunities, but you don't take the typical route in anything. And so you decided to go to Harvard. Can you talk about the decision and really what that experience did to set you up both for your long-term career, but your career in track and field?
Yeah, well, if we're being honest, I didn't actually have the opportunity to compete at the big-time track schools. I do recall reaching out to a couple of the programs, and they just responded with their standards, and unfortunately, I just did not have them, and that's completely fine, because I know now, if they could look back, they might change their minds. But at the time, I was in high school, and I knew that I wanted to study something that would be impactful. At the time, I was thinking maybe medical school, but definitely research. And so when I was a junior, I was 17 years old, and I knew that I wanted to go into neuroscience, which is a study of the brain and the nervous system. And so I was looking at programs for that, and I kind of, at the time, thought I knew exactly what I wanted to do, which was study autism, but plans have definitely changed since then. But when I had the opportunity to go to a school like Harvard, I thought, okay, this program could be pretty good. This might be a pretty good neuroscience program. So I applied to Harvard, and I got in, and I think for me at that time, I was also very, very focused on putting my education first. And letting things kind of happen the way they were supposed to happen, and being patient. And so my main goal was not at the time to be a professional athlete. At the time, I didn't even know that being a professional track athlete was a career that I could go into, or really that anyone did, that anyone could make money and be successful doing. So my goal was just to study neurobiology and do research, and I think what really worked for me was having that patience and having that focus on education and focusing on my own journey.
Yeah, and you do things which have real meaning for you, and neurobiology definitely has meaning for you. Can you talk a little bit about that? Yeah.
So the reason why I ended up deciding to go into neurobiology at the time was because of my own personal experiences. I have a twin brother with ADHD who actually lives here in Boston, and a younger brother with autism. And watching how they were navigating their life, how they were navigating the school system and their social interactions, and seeing how kind of the world wasn't exactly built for them, it just made me really curious to see, how we could work around that, how we could help change that, and even just understand their neuroatypical patterns more. So that's why I wanted to go into research and do that. And I'm glad that I did, just because it was something that I was passionate about at the time. And throughout my entire college career, even after I decided that I wanted to focus on track and specialize in kind of a more sociology approach to healthcare, I was still really intrigued by the neurobiology of it all, and actually understanding the nervous system and having that foundation. So it was something that I was really passionate about. So I'm glad that I did pursue it. And that's kind of the mindset and the principles that I carry through everything that I do.
And them schools that didn't recruit you hard must have been a bit shocked, because by the end of your freshman year, you're finishing third at the NCAAs, but then you go to the Olympic trials as a freshman and finish sixth in 2016. But I know you've talked about the challenges and the difficulties of that freshman year, and also that sophomore year when the academic workload was increasing. You were trying to find your way of what you wanted to do academically and in athletics. And can you talk about them 2 years, but really that second year where you made some decisions on finding balance in your life, which really helped you for your junior year and then as you moved on in your career?
Yeah, absolutely. Freshman year at college is tough. I am sure everyone here can relate to that. It's really challenging. You're in a new environment. You're doing things that you've never done before, and then topping that off with sports and competing at the D1 level was a challenge, to say the least. And there were many times where I thought, I just can't do this. Something's going to have to give. It's going to either have to be track or this major that I'm trying to pursue. But I was in love with neurobiology, and I was beginning to love track and field in a way that I hadn't before. And my college coach at the time, was just such a hardo of a coach. And I'm sure anyone who does sports, you know how that is. It just seemed like he was very unforgiving. I was being kicked out of practice, just far too often, right? And it was really, really hard, emotionally and physically too. But I stuck with it, and it became a part of my journey, and I was learning so much from it. And I think that's what's so important, right, is I was accepting it as a part of my journey, and each day I was going to the track or going to class and learning something new. And it was impossible for me at that point to part from either one of them, because I loved them so much. And everything else that I was given the opportunity to do at Harvard. I joined a few clubs, a women in business club, which I also learned a lot from. And after my freshman year and after my sophomore year, I got to a point where, I was enjoying what I was doing at Harvard so much, and I had all of these opportunities, that I had to make a really, really tough call at one point, and that was to finish my track season. For those of you who don't know, once you're in college track, you do your college track season, you do your division championships, or your conference championships, and then you go on to postseason, and that's going to be regionals, that's going to be nationals, and that's kind of where you have this opportunity to show the entire world how good you are, how you go up against everybody in the country, and those are really, really big deals. And ultimately is how you get a lot of eyes on you. But I decided at the time that I wanted to do something different and do something a little bit more. And I had a conversation with my coach, and I told him, I have this opportunity to go study abroad. And I had applied and got accepted into this program to go to Dakar, Senegal, which is in West Africa, and just study the culture and religion and the society and the healthcare there. And it was a really hard opportunity to turn down. And so I decided, I think this is going to be good for me in my journey. So I told him, and at first he was angry and he was livid, and he was like, how are you just not going to finish your track season? That's unheard of. And when you're in a Division I track program, that is unheard of. As anyone can imagine with your sport, just telling your coach that you're not going to do the season because you don't want to. But I did, and I went to Africa for 2 months, is how long I lived there, and it was very different lifestyle for sure. I didn't have hot water while I was there, and it was just very, very different. But I came back just with a different mindset. I came back having learned some lessons and fed my soul in a way that I hadn't before. And I think that trip really helped me with my track career. I came back the next season just different, right? I had a lot less distractions. I had a little bit more clarity of what I wanted for myself and what I wanted to do with my life. And that ended up being my breakout season. Up until that point, I was a really good Harvard sprinter, but then I just became a really good national level sprinter. That's when I won my NCAA championship, and that's when I just had a lot more clarity on what was important in life for me. So it's another example of one of those things where you kind of follow your passion and what drives you and what I was passionate and excited about. And it ended up being a really good decision. And now I'm sitting here today and I'm running track really, really fast, but I think that was one of the turning points of my life.
Absolutely. Again, not taking the typical route. So you win the NCAA title, agents start calling.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
you tell the funny story. It's like, they're saying, oh, we can get you deals with X, Y, and Z. And you're like, people are actually going to pay me to do this?
Yeah, well, that was the shocking thing about it, right? I took the trip, I came back, I started running really fast, which is great because I love running fast. But suddenly, agents are calling. I'm talking to my coach, and he's talking about going pro. And for me, I did not know what this was. I didn't know what it looked like. I had no idea that I could actually be a professional athlete and make money running. So that was very new to me, and it was really exciting. And it's funny just because, I'm an Olympic athlete now, and I had watched Olympians compete before. I'd watched Alison Felix, who was one of my idols, running on the track and competing at trials. But I just didn't know. I don't know if I thought it was very rare, if it wasn't possible for me, but it's just not something that I knew that I would get into. So that was really exciting.
And so at that time, we were looking to sign our first female sprinter. Mm-hmm. And I remember you coming over to HQ, and we sat down for about an hour, and we talked about who we are, what we stand for, how we approach partnerships, what we look for in a partner, everything that Chris spoke about yesterday. And I remember you walking out and saying, my God, when we talk about fiercely independent, Gabby Thomas is exactly what we look for. And I remember things moved very, very quickly. It was almost like end of the day, it was like, we're going to do a deal. And the agent called up and said it's the right fit. And we did it very quickly, and we got a superstar. Yeah. But I'm interested in what do you look for in a partner? You've done a number of partnerships since then with other brands. What do you look for, and how important it is to do initiatives which are, again, meaningful for you? Yeah.
It's when I look at when I'm partnering with brands, I'm very, very what's the word I'm looking for? Not selective, but I'm very intentional about who I'm partnering with. And when New Balance was on the table when I was just a junior in college, it was really a no-brainer. I mean, despite the fact that they're based in Boston, which I loved, just being a Massachusetts girl, I was really in love with their mission and what they were trying to do, not only with track but off the track. Since signing with New Balance, I've had many opportunities to actually make a difference in the community as well. I mean, part of it was having the opportunity to give back to the local community that I live in now in Austin. We get quite a generous amount for a charitable donation, and I have for a couple of years partnered with the Volunteer Healthcare Clinic down in Austin and New Balance, where we're able to donate a lot of shoes for those who actually do genuinely need it. And I see them every day, and I go down there and I actually see what these people need and what they want and what they're asking for. So to be able to be partnered with an organization that cares about the community has been really important. And that's something that I look for, is what are the brands doing to make a difference? Do they actually care about the communities that they are serving? Additionally, we just did a campaign with Joe Robinson, Joe Fresh Goods. I don't know if you guys have seen the sneakers, but they are really cool. And this was a campaign that meant a lot to me too, because it really shed light and emphasized the Black community and the important dialogues and conversations that we have. And it shed light on the Black community in such a positive way, and it was really uplifting, especially in a time where there's so much division going on and so much negativity going on in the media. It was really special and really fun to be a part of. And for New Balance to be a brand that's kind of like pushing forward on things like that, and just being so, it was such an innovative idea. And it was different, and no other brand is doing something like that, especially in the sneaker world. So it was a campaign that really, really changed the game and opened my eyes to the power that brands have to make a difference and uplift so many different demographics. So just things like that, and the missions, and like you said, you were looking for someone fiercely independent, and that messaging was really powerful for me. I was at a time where I'm making these decisions, like choosing Harvard to go to, or choosing what career to pursue. And obviously I have moments where I'm second guessing myself, where I'm thinking, am I doing this the right way? I don't see anyone else doing this. Like, what am I doing? So to have a brand that kind of backs that and validates all those tough decisions that I was making and trying to do things my own way and follow my own path and stay strong in my journey was really important. And it just felt like such an amazing fit. And I'm so glad because New Balance has supported my journey every step of the way. And if I could look back, and I say so myself, I think that I made the right calls, and I'm really happy with how everything turned out, and I'm really happy to be even here right now with John at this New Balance event talking about my journey in retrospect and how successful it's been. So I'm excited about even the road ahead and having this journey with New Balance and seeing what else we can do, and seeing how being fiercely independent and following my own journey and how far that'll get me.
Well, we say that we want athletes who are a reflection of our values, and you're absolutely that. What you do to give back in the community is incredible, and we're looking forward to what the future brings. Which brings on, Chris talks about, comfort and growth don't exist, don't coexist. And you speak about that, trying to make yourself uncomfortable. And you made a decision after you graduated college to go down to Texas, find a training group, which has really been incredible. But you put yourself in a comfortable situation. How does that make you a better person, making yourself uncomfortable?
Yeah, that's another great principle of mine as well. I mean, I am constantly striving to be in uncomfortable situations. I think, I say this thing that I'm just kind of addicted to chaos, and it's just a weird thing about me, but I'm sure a lot of people can relate as well if you're just someone who is constantly trying to achieve. But I graduated from Harvard, and I was in my contract with New Balance, but I wanted to be an Olympian, and that was kind of at this point in my life that was my goal. And I knew that if I wanted to get there, I had to make myself uncomfortable and get outside of my comfort zone. And Harvard was an amazing place, for academics and for my track career. But as you can imagine, it's really not somewhere where you train to be an Olympic medalist. So I decided that I needed to go somewhere. And I found this group in Austin, Texas, with a female coach, which was also very, very special. My coach, Tanja Bailey, is a 3-time Olympian and an Olympic bronze medalist. She missed off from the 400-meter hurdles world records by hundredths of a second. So she is a pretty big deal, and a very fierce coach. And the group that I moved down there with were, a couple of Olympians at the time that I had looked up to. So I decided, I am gonna just pack my bags and move down to Austin. I'm gonna move to Texas and see where this goes. I don't know these girls. I don't really know anyone in Texas, but I think this will put me in the best position to make this Olympic team. And at the time, I was just an Olympic hopeful. And I moved down there pretty quickly. I mean, I met Coach Bailey, and then I was moving to Austin about 6 weeks later. But I felt in my heart that it was the right call. I knew that I needed to be uncomfortable, and I was really excited about that, to see what we could do together. And it has been quite a journey since then. I moved down there, and she had us running timed mile like trials every Monday. Which is the most I had ever run. I don't know if we have any runners here, but I'm a sprinter, and the most I had ever run was 400 meters, which is 1 lap around the track. So my first day down there, I was thinking, I have made a terrible mistake. But it ended up a really, really good decision for me. We fought through COVID for a year where, I was still down there training, and I wasn't sure if I had made the right call still. I mean, it was a year without competition, so I didn't know what that was going to be for me. But then when the Olympics finally did come around, it proved to be one of the best decisions that I ever made.
Absolutely incredible decision, because you go through this turbulent year, and you go to the Olympic trials, and you're hoping to become an Olympian, and all of a sudden you run this, incredible performance, which I think it shocked you, maybe not your coach, but you've become the second fastest female in history. Yeah. And you have to adjust your goals really quick. Can you talk about that event, what it meant, but then your goal setting and how quickly you adjust from being, I want to be an Olympian, but I can win the Olympics now. So yeah, that was a pretty quick adjustment for sure. Yeah, and that's funny that you mentioned. I don't think my coach was surprised. I wish we had the clip, but when you watch the race, I am ecstatic about the time, because I just didn't expect that. But then they pan over to my coach, who's just sitting there like this, and not even clapping, just straight face, stone cold, like yeah, that was supposed to happen. In fact, she probably should have ran faster. She probably shouldn't have started celebrating early. But yeah,
I'm sorry, I totally forgot the question.
No. You have to adjust your goals now.
Yeah.
Now you have to.
Yeah. So after that moment, my goal was really just to make the team. When I made the 4x1 team or the relay pool earlier that week, I was excited just to be going to Tokyo. And that was before I had even made the team on the 200. So once I made the team of the 200, that was a dream come true for me. But not only had I made the team, I had, like John said, run the second fastest 200 in history behind FloJo, which it's something that I never would have dreamed of in my entire career. So instantly in that moment, I became a favorite for a gold medal. And that's what I was striving towards. And now that I have, my 2 Olympic medals, a silver and a bronze, I'm sitting here thinking I don't have a gold medal. And so that's kind of what I'm working towards now, is getting that gold medal, and then also getting a world championship medal. And world championships is later this summer, for anyone who's interested in watching. So yeah, goals just are always changing, and I'm always striving to do more than I did before. And I don't know when that's gonna be it for me, but I have a couple more Olympics in me. So that's just going to be the pattern for the foreseeable future for the next 8 years.
Yeah, so you go to Tokyo. It's not a typical Olympics.
Yeah.
But you said something. It's Olympics was like summer camp with a little bit more stress. I'm not quite sure what summer camp you went to, but what was that experience like? And going through the rounds, and then eventually winning an Olympic medal, which must have been a dream come true.
Yeah, I mean, people ask all the time, what was it like in Tokyo? What were the Olympics like? And I always say, it was like summer camp, but with a little bit more stress. And that is probably the best way to describe it. I mean, it really did feel like summer camp, because we were there at a very interesting time. It was COVID, and we couldn't leave the village. You could go to the village, you can go to the U.S. training facilities, and then you can go to competition. So all of the athletes, like every country, every sport, was just kind of quarantined together in the village in these small quarters. And we would just see each other all the time, like in the buildings or in the dining hall, which is where we met up with so many different athletes from different countries and got to socialize. So one of my fondest memories of the Olympics is just that, getting to talk to different athletes. And we have this tradition in the village where we all get these pins, and you get your country's pin. And the goal is to trade with as many different countries as you can. And you're kind of parading around with all of these pins. So when you see someone from, Switzerland walking around in the village and they have 50 pins on, they were like the coolest person in the village. That was like, oh, wow, you met a lot of people. You have all these pins. How cool. And if you only had like 10, you need to catch up. So it's small moments like that, which were really, really fun, and it made it such a special experience. But then, there's that added stress and anxiety. You're having all this fun, but in the back, that this is about to be the biggest moment of your life coming up. And for track and field, it's a moment where you only have a few moments or a few seconds to make that happen, and to get the medal and make your dreams a reality. So it was very stressful, but I had prepared myself for that moment, and I had worked so hard, and it's kind of trusting that everything that I had done prior to that time was good and adequate. So I had prepared myself for it. But it was a really, really great testing experience, that's for sure. And
a lot of media attention since then.
Yeah.
You don't shy away from using your platform, and I think you embrace being a role model. So what would you like to say about being a role model, and what would you say to somebody who is a young up-and-coming student athlete or a female going into STEM? What advice would you like to hear when you were younger?
I think what I would say is to engage in as many things that bring you joy as possible, whether that's drawing or painting or music or sports. Just do something that you love every day, every week, whatever it is, and take those lessons from it and build your own journey. I think we focus so much on what other people are doing and what people are doing around you and trying to do things the right way. But there really is no one right way to do things. So as long as you're doing what you love and you're getting those lessons from it and feeding yourself and growing as a person, you'll find your way. And you can follow your passions and pursue your dreams in that way. So that's the advice that I would give anyone, is to just do what genuinely feeds your soul and makes you happy, and allows you to grow as a person, and you'll find success in that. That's how I found success in school and on the track, and how I plan to continue to find success in the rest of my life.
Incredible. So you've got 2 Olympic medals, your degree from Harvard, you're finishing up your master's
Working
in epidemiology. What do you want to do? You know, you've got the Olympics coming up in 24, you've got 28 in LA.
Yeah.
And then off the track, what do you want to do? What do you want to accomplish?
I answered this question a lot, and really the short answer is I don't know. And I think that's okay, that I don't exactly know where I'm going to be, even 5-10 years from now. But for now, what I do know is that I am going for Paris 2024 and LA 2028. And I hope to strive for just more medals, and challenging myself on the track and being the best sprinter that I can be, and one of the best sprinters in the history of the sport. After that, I'm still working on my master's at UT right now, the University of Texas, Austin. I'm getting a master's in public health and focus on epidemiology. I just turned in my final paper last night for my final epidemiology class, and I want to pursue healthcare administration after that. So one of my passions is focusing on health inequity, and just kind of fixing what is wrong in the healthcare system right now. I have a lot of personal experiences with that, and it's just been one of my passions since before starting at Harvard, and it's something that I want to pursue even after track and field. So I'm really excited about that and to see where that goes.
Well, incredible athlete, incredible person, incredible partner. I think if we open up quickly to 1 or 2 questions, if anyone has any questions for Gabby.
You literally have Wonder Woman in front of you, so I would take this opportunity to ask. Over here?
That's a good question. As a sprinter, we don't get a lot of mileage, but I would say, we train Monday through Friday, and if I'm competing, I'll compete over the weekend, but a lot. Probably, 1,000 meters on Monday, less than that on Tuesday, 1,000 meters on Friday. So, just a lot of sprinting, basically, Monday through Friday.
Gabby, we know so much about you, but actually what I don't know is what do you like to do for fun?
Fun? What's time for fun? I spend a lot of time with my pug. I have a really adorable pug named Rico, and I live in Austin, Texas. So it's a very outdoorsy city for anyone who has not been, and there's a lot to do, like going on boats on the lake or going for a hike. So I love just filling my time with stuff like that, and that's a great way to do active recovery. And for me, as a runner, active recovery is a great way to not only relieve stress, but to actually physically recover as well, and just do things that make me a little bit happy. And then also just watching a lot of Netflix.
Can you walk me through what you think the benefits of then switching to training with a female coach, and how you've seen that just improve as you season in your career?
I am very, very fortunate to have a female coach. It's not something that I had even thought about before I made the choice. It just happened to be a coincidence at the time because I respected her as a coach, male or female. But having her as a coach has been just such a difference, just not only with the things that we can talk about and the things that she can relate to, but just the mutual respect that we have for one another. It's really, really powerful. And to be able to have that close relationship with my coach makes a very big difference because she understands so many different things about me that do affect my training and that go into my training. And it's really, really powerful, and I'm just so grateful. And just watching her every day and knowing what she's accomplished, and she's such a role model for me. And part of that is just having that female aspect. It almost feels kind of like a mirror. So it's really special, and it's very rare in track and field too.
Well, we want to really thank Gabby for coming. She's going to be on the next panel, so she's going to be here a bit longer. But she's in the midst of her season right now. She's going to Doha next week, and she's got the US Championships and then the World Championships this year, where she's going to go for a gold in Eugene. So thank you for coming here today, and really appreciate all your time.
Thank you, John.